It's very thematically like, I'm a general commander of this huge force, this huge legion, believe it or not.
Have you ever seen the picture of, what was it?
I don't think it was the guy who made Cthulhu.
Oh, H.G. Wells. Sorry, H.G.
Wells. Yeah.
Have you seen that picture of H.G. Wells and his friend playing like army men?
No, I haven't.
I just
Bring this up. Connor, pull this up.
There we go. There you go. It's you and Jason right there.
That's us. That's Napoleon. Us right there. And it's so cool. And again, you get to have these kind of really big sprawling maps and these really cool engagements and
kind of taking wargaming back to its roots in a way, like the big.
If you guys want to open mouth kiss, we can.
You
know what? I'm having this.
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll help. It's berries. It's good antioxidant.
Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome back to what will probably be the last episode of From the Vault for 2023. Yeah, no, not ever. It's been good fun.
We just got on Spotify, man.
We're just hitting our rhythm with this.
For 2023.
Last one for 2023, yes, because we're having a little break over Christmas. But as always, I am joined by Trent.
Hello. Spoiler alert. I'm also here.
And behind the cameras over there is Connor.
Hello.
Hello, Connor.
Today, though, what we want to talk about, and absolutely can't wait to see your responses in the comments as well.
Most importantly,
is what games from 2023, what games this year have you played this year? Not necessarily have to be released this year. What games have you played for the first time this year that blew you away? And then we also can talk a little bit about going into 2024, what we're excited about.
Cool.
So do you?
Why don't you start?
I start? All
right.
Why
don't you start this time?
Okay. Well, first one I want to go with is a board game that backed on Kickstarter and finally arrived this year, and I was very excited for it because I'm a tragic for the lore, and that is Witcher: The Old World.
Yes. And you and I played a game of this recently.
Yeah, you and I played a game last week. I love it. It's so much fun. I'm a big Witcher fan, primarily of the CD Projekt Red lore over the previous stuff.
So games, not books.
Games, not books. The books are okay. They're very there.
Yeah. It's like Elder Scrolls, right?
Yeah,
it's like the books are kind of
but the CD Projekt Red guys really tightened the lore up, and they've done some really great stuff to expand out the lore as well. And now we've got a board game where you can actually play as a Witcher that isn't just Geralt.
Yeah.
And you level up. Anyway, let me talk about the game. The way the game works is you have your character, which is a Witcher, or if you got the Mages expansion, you have a mage. And there is a deck called your action deck. Inside that action deck is like different types of cards that each have a colored band on the side and then a little colored tab next to it. What that means is if you have a colored band that matches the tab of a card previously, you can play them when you're fighting a monster or another player. So you end up with this like wicked combo from your hand that just deals massive amount of damage.
And it's called a combo too.
It's called a combo, yeah.
And if I recall correctly, the colors of the cards kind of represent what kind of card they are as well. Like if you're a Witcher specifically, like there's like defensive cards and offensive cards.
Yeah,
and there's utility cards.
Yeah, there's blocks, defensive signs, aggressive signs.
Which you'll all recognize from the games or books if you've read or played.
And then quick strikes and heavy strikes.
Yeah. And they all combo together to kind of that's a primary way you kind of play the game and you deal damage.
Yeah. You're modifying this action deck throughout the game as you go up in points for the game, because you only need to get like 4 trophies to win the game, which you get from like killing monsters or defeating another player in combat or maxing out your ability level in one of the 4 stats that you have, which is like combat or defense or whatever. That you level up your character throughout the game too, by the way, which is also like it really is a great adventure RPG.
It's a lot of moving parts, but when they come together, it works really fluidly.
When they come together, it's this like amazing like dance
a bit poetic. It's like poetry when it comes together. The thing about it that really gets me right. So 2 things. I don't want to interject here, but 2 things. First thing being that when I played it with you, it reminded me, because I played a mage, right?
Yep.
And expansions are expansions. They could be powerful, they could be weak. Mages are very powerful.
Yes,
but because I managed to win our game actually, because I know I play a lot of card games. The deck building element of that, I kind of clocked on pretty easily.
I realized as soon as you clicked on the deck building aspect of the game, I was like, I'm going to lose now.
I did. I learned very quickly.
It's like,
hang on.
Yeah, this is good.
It's very good. What it reminds me of is like, speaking of game that actually got expansion really recently, and games expansions in general, is actually Binding of Isaac: The Four Souls. It actually reminds me a lot of that game, where it's like, it's the same deal, where it's, you got to get your 4 trophies. In this game, you get 4 souls. You have to, as you kind of work on your own to defeat monsters, but you can also kind of like interact with each other. In the Witcher game, you directly fight each other. But in Binding of Isaac, you're almost like Munchkin style, just making it hard if you're prone to defeat monsters, right? But the big thing for me is that Binding of Isaac, and a lot of games do this with their deck building, is that you're spending some kind of resource, whether it be an action or some kind of economy, to get the cards, to go to the item shop, buy your new cards, make your deck different, build your things within your deck. And with Binding of Isaac, you kind of have like an item board which you do things with, but you have to spend resources to buy those. Whereas in The Witcher, at the end of every turn, you just say, cool, the cards I already have in my hand, I discard them to get new cards, right? Which is, I am spending a resource because you use those cards to move around the board and there are actions involved. But it doesn't feel like you have to have this kind of secondary economy or this secondary thing where you're like, oh, I got to spend money or spend something on these cards, or I got to skip my turn to buy a new card.
Yeah.
You just go, at the end of every turn, you go, I will have cards in my hand because I've got some new cards. And I'll go, cool, I'll discard these 2, or sometimes not even any cards,
to buy
get
a new
card.
Yeah.
And, the more cards you discard, the more valuable a card is, therefore the better it is. But I like the idea that every turn I was like, oh, I'm getting something new as well. So whether or not I defeat a monster, whether or not I defeat a player, whether or not I just played, there's like dice poker, which is really fun.
Yeah, you play dice poker against other players or the crowd.
And you don't play it a small amount of times. Like, we played dice poker like every turn, basically, against either each other player or the town that I'm in. And you play dice poker a bunch. But even if you're just doing that, you're always getting a cool card out of it at the end. And that's where I really that's what keyed me into the deck building, because as a learner player, I was forced to engage with this system every turn. And it was just the third step in my turn. It's like, oh, the third thing you do at the end of your turn. And it's so easy to do that your opponent can go to their turn while you're doing it, is because they can just start while you're doing this thing, is you just buy a new card. And that was great, because it let me kind of go, if I want to learn this thing, I'm not sacrificing anything else. I'm just learning this thing, which is really good for a game that's so heavy on its mechanics to go, it's got these easy to learn like options.
And the really interesting thing I find with that you always gain a card at the end of your turn as well, is that it basically puts a clock on the game, because you can take your time to try and build your deck to be like optimal if you want, but the other players are building their deck at the same rate as you.
Oh yeah.
So either you're doing it more optimally, or you're going to fall behind. Yeah.
And we saw that actually because Maddie, bless her heart, was playing with us, and she was having a fun game. We all really enjoyed playing with her, but her deck was abysmal.
Yeah.
And Maddie's a really good card game player. Like, it wasn't necessarily all their fault, but you could tell in the cards they were grabbing that they weren't long-term thinking about their deck building. They were going, oh, I just need a card for now. So
get another action. What card can I get the action? Because these cards also have terrain types on them. Yeah, bring it up, Connor. It's an awesome game.
Yeah,
these cards have terrain types on them that allow you to move on your next turn when you move.
Exactly.
The catch being, the more you use moving, the less cards you have for your first turn to fight with.
Yeah.
When you fight against a monster.
If I have to put a blade in the heart of the game, in my opinion, though, I did kind of wish that the cards just didn't have associated terrain. I wish you could just discard a card to go anywhere you wanted as long as you're on a track, because the map, by the way, everyone at home, has roads. So you can't just go, oh, I'm going to go from this spot to wherever I want on the map. You have to follow a predetermined path. So if you have cards in your hand and your predetermined path just doesn't have these options for you, more often than not, it will. But if it doesn't, then you're there were times where I was looking at my hand going, well, I'm kind of stuck where I am. I can move one space, call it there, because I just don't have the cards to go wherever I need to be going. Because again, when you're buying your cards, you really can't be focused on the terrain type on the card. That's a nothing concept. Your cards need to do good things when you fight. So I couldn't be going, oh, I got to buy water terrain cards because I just don't have enough of those.
Where the catch is that the only other option you have is you can discard one card and pay one coin to travel, or you discard two cards of any type to move.
Which makes your action economy very low.
Very low, yeah. Or you're going to spend some time playing dice poker. So if you were in a game where, dice poker was kind of just happening while you were there, and you were winning because Piper won a lot of those dice poker rounds.
Piper was going crazy with the dice poker, yeah.
5 6s in one roll. It's insane. If you're winning a lot, then you can, in dice poker, then you have the economic incentive, economic backing to make those plays.
To be fair,
But yeah.
I also didn't learn that actually. So I remember now actually, because I was thinking of discarding 2 cards every time. It wasn't until I think very late in the game that I think we learned that it was like, oh, you can discard a card and pay a coin, and everyone on the table was like, wait, what? It's like, oh yeah, you can just pay a coin as well. That, and I was like, and I learned that right after I spent a bunch of coins to level up. So I went down to no coins. And I was like, nice, I'm so set. I'm getting this game down pat. And Dylan's like, I spend 2 coins to discard 2 cards and go wherever I want. I was like, oh no. I was like,
what have I done?
I really messed up.
To be fair, you still won, man. So
yeah, look, I knew what I was doing.
The really interesting thing with the game too is as you excel in the game and you go up in your trophy points to get closer to the victory conditions, you have to actually burn cards from your deck. So they're called fatigue, which ended up costing me the win and giving you, I wouldn't say giving you on a silver platter because you built your deck really well, but it definitely played a factor as the fact that I had to drop 3 cards because I defeated a monster on your space. And then the next turn you were able to come at me and you had more cards than me or more options available that you had built towards, whereas I had to just lose 3 cards. So I'd lost some of the combo strategies that would need to build back up again.
And I was in the specific situation where the monster I wanted to defeat would burn out the color purple cards. And I had 3 of those in my deck. So I went, oh, knock out a monster. I look at my deck and I'm like, oh, I'll burn my only 3 purple cards, which said to Dylan, it kind of telegraphed, oh, Trent will kill this monster.
Yeah, so Trent's going to win.
Trent's going to win if he kills this monster because by definition, his deck is designed to beat it right now. And then Dylan's like, well, I have to come onto your space and defeat the monster. And I'm like, you're stuck in here with me. Unlimited power. And I just shocked him.
It's
good.
It was
a great game.
If you haven't had a chance to play it yet, find a copy, play. It is...
Even in the core box as well, there were a lot of monsters. Sorry, I'm jumping in.
Yeah.
A lot of monsters, which I was really surprised by. And the sculpts are really nice as well.
The minis look great. Honest, like what sold me was the 3 sisters.
Yeah.
Seeing the Crookback Bog sisters in miniature form. And I was like, I am going to run a Witcher RPG at some point that needs minis. This is going to look great. So I fell for the Kickstarter minis trap. But...
We all do.
The expansions are awesome. I really hope that they bring out the Kickstarter exclusive expansion stuff that they were planning on bringing out early next year as soon as possible. The co-op version of the game as well, where you fight the Wild Hunt,
that's cool.
Awesome. We lost miserably, and then we lost by a little bit.
Yeah, that's good. It's good when that kind of happens, right?
That's one of those Kickstarter expansions that hopefully will come out next year that I think will sell the game a lot more for a lot more other people.
Definitely.
So yeah, check it out.
That was Witcher of the Old World.
Witcher of the Old World. It's good. It's good shit.
My current new game I would say I've been playing is what I'm loving at the moment is actually Legion Imperialis, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
Crazy. So the Games Workshop just kind of re-released their old epic Armageddon game with a whole new shell, whole new miniatures, and they've called it Legion Imperialis. And this is a 12mm scale, tiny little game. The Marines are legitimately 3mm tall.
Yeah.
It's crazy how small these miniatures are.
Which is insane because some of them come in 2 pieces or 3 pieces.
Yeah, some of the missile Marines, they come in 2 pieces, which is crazy. But the majority of them are just 1 piece, so to be fair. Like, even the Terminators are just 1 little piece. But yes, the missile launcher Marines are 2 pieces for some reason. And I've been really enjoying this game. So, you haven't played this yet, right?
I haven't played it.
So Legion Imperialis, right, it kind of utilizes a lot of the movement mechanics from Adeptus Titanicus, which is a game that Games Workshop was trying to work with, but really couldn't get off the ground as much as they wanted. The model quality of Adeptus Titanicus is incredible, though. Mm-hmm. And how the game kind of works is it plays a bit like your orders system from a bit like Star Wars Legion-like, but it has a very interesting turn dynamic. So it does away with the Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Age of Sigmar's my turn, your turn, the Games Workshop staple of I do everything and then you do everything. It kind of goes back to the skirmish idea of actually we share a turn and we activate within it. Mm-hmm. What you do is you start the board with all of your models on the table, unless you've got stuff in Deep Strike or whatever, just like most of their games. And then you go, okay, I'll give everything in order. Then we'll move over to the initiative step. After we've decided orders, we've revealed our orders to our opponent, then we determine initiative. Mm-hmm. And if you win initiative, you can determine who goes first. So that's really interesting. You kind of know what the orders are going to be. It's almost like you've hacked into their Vox units and worked out what their plans are going to be beforehand, which is very cool. And then you move into your movement phase where everything obviously moves. And then you go to your charges. Then you move over to your shooting and your engagements, right? But all your charges and engagements resolve before your shooting, and your shooting is kind of the last thing that happens, which is really cool. There's an order in the game called the First Fire Order, and there's the Advanced Order. The Advanced Order lets you move and shoot, and the First Fire Order says, no, you just shoot. However, everything with the First Fire Order will always fire first. And it'll always get all of its shooting off before anything with advances does. There are units in the game that you flip around these orders, but more often than not, once you put something down, you're locked into what you're doing for the full battle round. And I'm really enjoying this game a lot. It's just really balanced as far as I've seen so far. At the moment, it uses Warhammer 30k, so the Horus Heresy era of gameplay. So it's all Civil War. Just like Adeptus Titanicus back in like the early 90s, I think it was.
Yeah.
It's all like Space Marines versus Chaos Space Marines. They've released and spattered in the Solar Auxilia, which are like the human infantry division, like the Imperial Guard as you remember them, or the Astra Militarum now. But, you know, before, like lore-wise, they were called that. And mostly, though, it is just Space Marines. And most people are playing just Space Marines. Anyway, the game feels really fun. I'm really enjoying it. There's something viscerally really enjoyable about assembling tiny little tanks as well, like the Kratos battle tank.
Push them around like you're some World War II general, like
exactly.
a little stick.
You get to push them around, and the terrain is really fun to like build and such, and paint, because it's just tiny terrain. But it's like, you know, again, a tower is still like this big, and you get like a city block like this big, right? That's a whole city block, which is, imagine like that's like a table and a half. And they're tiny, but that gives you a lot of rooms, do a little tiny details all over it, and you can have little lit up windows and stuff, and you know that's really fun. And I've been getting some terrain together to play it more and more. Jason, the store manager here at the Brisbane store at Vault, and I have played tons of it already. Played like a couple of games, and I've been playing over Tabletop Simulator using like just stand-in bases, like 40k bases for now, just to learn the core rules. And for the first time in a very long time, I found myself enjoying magnetizing again. So,
really?
Yes, I've been magnetizing. I just finished magnetizing my Reaver Titan. Both of his arms pop off, different gun for each arm.
Perfect.
I glued on his chainsword because the kit only came with the 2 guns, the one I bought. In a world where I would have like a weapons sprue, I would have not glued that on, but I was like, it's fine. I kind of want to always have him a little bit melee if I verse other Titans, and having the guns swap and the top gun swap as well was fine enough for me, I think.
So how big's the Titan?
So a Warhound Titan stands about this big. Like a Warhound Titan.
Yeah.
And then my Reaver Titan.
In regular tabletop, a Warhound Titan's like this big.
I'll say a Warhound Titan is there. Right?
Yeah.
And then a Reaver Titan. There. And then a Reaver Titan, mine is this big on the table, which is amazing. And then I just picked up the. So currently, what I still have to assemble is 2 boxes of Questoris Knights, which are this big each.
Yeah.
2 boxes of Kratos battle tanks, so 8 Kratos battle tanks. And I'll get to this in a second. And also a Warlord Titan, which is like big. That's like a big Titan model. And those things are like the most expensive Titan you can buy on Forge World for all of 40k. Those things stand this high off the table, like huge
It's
models.
like playing Armageddon, but you don't spend a day and a half setting up.
Exactly. And also like you're not buying like, again, these Titans are so like power fantasy and such, and it's like you're not, you know, buying this Forge World resin that you're then dunking in for like into hot water and refixing the warping and pinning and cleaning just before you get anything started.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not this is a 100-hour assembly job and another 200-hour painting job, and then I got to base it and everything, which they, you know, those Titans, the actual Forge World ones, you know, you don't need bases for those. They could just stand on the table because they're so big. But you want bases for your models. You know what I mean? It feels so weird to not have it.
You want a scene underneath.
You want a scene, exactly. So you're gonna base it. You're gonna go buy like legitimately like a chopping board, and then like cut a chopping board into a circle. Like you're gonna base it,
and then drop another $70 on just like an Imperial Guard squad to just run around on the base.
Exactly.
1 base per foot.
That's horrible. That makes me very sad. But I would look at it. If somebody else did that, I'd be like, whoa. But if I
where's the middle bit gone?
Where's the middle bit? I'm like, what's going on? It's really cool. And also, you know, another thing as well, it's like 8 Kratos battle tanks. That's just not something you do in 40k or 30k. No. You just can't have that many tanks. It's like, it's so cool. And it's these gigantic armies. And the mechanical gameplay, the whole like, you know your orders, you see your opponent's orders, you do a bit of initiative, you're moving gigantic armies. It does make you feel like a general commander of an army. A lot of the times with Warhammer, you're kind of like a game master. You're like a guy who's playing a game and you're moving models around that represent your game pieces. Kind of like playing chess. But for me, and I know chess for a long time did make you feel like a general, but you know, I think times have changed since chess was freaking invented. But I think Legion Imperialis definitely brings me right back to that. It's very thematically like, I'm a general commander of this huge force, this huge legion, believe it or not.
Have you ever seen the picture of, what was it? I think it was HP. It was who made Wargaming in the UK? was like I don't know if it was H.P. Lovecraft.
It
or
wasn't
or
H.P.
Conan Doyle.
Lovecraft.
I don't think it was the guy who made Cthulhu.
Oh,
H.G.
H.G. Wells. Sorry,
Yeah,
H.G.
H.G.
Wells.
Yeah.
Have you seen that picture of H.G. Wells and his friend playing like army men?
No, I haven't.
I just
Bring this up.
instantly-
Connor, pull this up.
I just instantly see you and that's you and Jason.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, I don't know. It's a fun game. I'm really enjoying it. It's, again, what the best part about it is it's very clean. It's very...
How big can you get that?
Look at this. Can you open image in new tab? Anyway.
There
we
you
go.
go.
We got
There you
it.
go. It's you and Jason right there.
That's us. That's
Napoleon.
us right there. And it's so cool. And, you know, again, you get to have these kind of really big sprawling maps and these really cool engagements. And it does feel like, you know, like 140K and such, they have their small, all mini games kind of have their small engagements, even all the way down to Warcry, where it's like my leader versus your leader. Yeah, there are these small engagements, but this game is like a board of small engagements.
Yeah.
And small engagements are armies versus armies. It's like entire formations versus entire formations.
It's kind of taking wargaming back to its roots in a way, like the big ranks and pushing big blocks of miniatures and
Exactly. And that's coming back to this point where I was saying the how you juxtapose that is it's got this modern kind of gleaning rule set that feels tactical, smart, and modern. And the dice rolling feels like impactful. It's not like, you know, again, it could be easy to get lost in like 60 dice. This game doesn't do that to you. Again, a Space Marine squad will shoot one dice, like one bolter shot, basically. And that one dice all represents how crack shot all of those models are. So it's not just like because you're playing tons of models, you're now drowning in dice. No, it still feels really like concise. Dice rolls really quick. The game feels really quick. And I can't wait to play more of it. And that's me. Legion Imperialis, really
That's
big.
cool.
And the modeling as well. Obviously, this comes back to The Witcher. Like, I'm a huge models guy. I've always talked about this on the channel. Just love anything that can get me into the hobby of things.
Definitely looking at that and hearing you guys talk about the epic scale stuff makes me just whip out Dreadfleet again.
Dude,
I love a good naval epic, you know?
I'd play some Dreadfleet.
I've got
Legit.
a box of Armada stuff up there that I got to pull out again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've played
I've
that
seen
in
that
a year.
before, yeah. But I feel like it's nothing as well where it's like, there's a universe where you could play some Dreadfleet, you could play some Legion Imperialis, you could play some Horus Heresy. You might even be able to like play some Kill Team, but just bring like TAC Marine squads as like each token.
I do like that because the models are so, I want to say small for Imperialis, that you can fit a lot of them into quite a small box.
That's also
And
true,
then
yeah.
that just makes it a much easier transport. It's played on a much bigger space than like Kill Team or whatever,
Yeah.
or Warcry. But the transportation of minis is such an important aspect to the availability of a game to play.
Oh, yeah.
I think. Oh,
And to-
no,
and to
don't
build
sell
upon-
me on- I don't need another minis game.
And to build upon that as well, it is played at 3,000 points, which a game like when you play Horus Heresy, you're investing like, you know, let's be fully honest, you're investing like $1,000 Australian into a 3,000 point game of Horus Heresy, and you're just like, wow, this is like years and years of investment and building and planning and having this force you really like, and then you get it onto the tabletop and you're like, man, like I either really like this or I find a way to like this. Or maybe I don't, and I like pushed all this time to this force, and I really don't know where I'm at with this game.
Yeah, you get that wargaming Stockholm syndrome.
Exactly, and you
Yeah.
kind of like, well, I have to make this work.
Sunken cost fallacy, if
It's-
anything.
Exactly, essentially. And I think with Legion Imperialis, especially with the lack of stock availability, which I'll be fully honest, there's, you know, let's do the sandwich. With a bit of like stock availability, it can be very hard to get an army together. But, that 3,000 points stretches very far, considering the fact that a squad of Space Marines, like 4 bases of Space Marines, is 35 points. And if you're playing at 3,000 points, you can imagine that's a lot of Space Marine bases. However, a Reaver Titan is 600 points.
Yeah.
So very quickly, you're able to cascade that very quickly down. Like that condenses all the way down by bringing a couple of Titans, a couple of Flyers, a couple of heavy tank squads. You're already at 2,000 points.
I do like that the Space Marine squads are like 35 points, so it's like, oh, I've got this little bit of space left in my list. Couple of little more bases.
A couple of little bases. And those Space Marine squads have like the best objective control in the game. So all of a sudden you're like, this is a good investment too. I'm not just throwing chaff at the wall.
Cool.
I love
Yeah.
throwing chaff at the wall.
Speaking of chaff at the wall, Connor, let's throw in Connor.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't have a camera. Sorry, everyone at home, but
Sorry.
Connor, chuck in.
Give us a
Should
game,
be.
man. Give us a game.
Give us a game.
I think it's going to be a shock to nobody here, considering, a few episodes ago. But I think for me, the biggest game of 2023 has been Warcry. It's one I've put the most amount of time into. It's one I've got a lot of investment in. Yeah, go and watch that other episode if you just want to watch me and Trent gush about Warcry for the better part of an hour. But I'll keep it pretty short.
I tell you what, your enthusiasm for Warcry has now like made me interested in the game again.
Yeah, I'll say this down because actually this is funny. So I ordered Blood Crushers through the store.
Skull Crushers.
No.
Wait.
Hold on. Let's take it. Don't worry. I got a king. I got a king. So I ordered Blood Crushers. They're Demons of Corn Blood Crushers, okay? However, when we put through the order, because this is just the thing about Demons of Corn, is everything is like Blood Crusher, Blood Letter, Skull Taker, Skull Crusher, Blood XYZ, you know?
Everything corn related has skull or blood in the name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So accidentally, we ordered Skull Crushers. And they arrived in the box, and they were both direct kits. They had the same kind of vibe. And I was like, I didn't even look at them. I took them home, popped the box open. I'm looking at the instructions. I'm like, that's funny. They tell you how to make Skull Crushers with these. That's kind of weird. Oh, they don't tell you how to make Blood Crushers with these. That's kind of weird. I look at the sprue. I'm like, I see what happened here. Let's take it back. And I'm like, I end up ordering more Legion Imperialis balls. I got a refund. I got some Legion Imperialis. Like, Blood Crushers are out of stock again because, Games Workshop. But anyway, I was like, there's like a tiny window they were in. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But then I come in and I tell Dylan about this. I'm like, hey, I've got these Skull Crushers. This is not what I wanted. And Dylan looks at me and he goes, these Skull Crushers, they're like the guys on the Juggernauts, right? I'm like, yeah, they're the freaking fantasy guys. The mortals on the Juggernauts. And he goes, oh, cool. Those guys aren't legal to play in Warcry, surely. I'm like, oh, they are. Oh, they're legal to play Warcry. And Dylan looks at me like, goes, Cass, can you order some Blood Crushers? And puts the box like down next to him on the right here. So, and you know what I will say as well, the love Connor has for Warcry, especially, and like myself too, has also just blossomed into such a great community for Warcry here. Like just such a great and expanding ever slowly, but consistently community. I think we're at like consistently, anywhere from 8 to 10 players. Yeah. And we've really got like 16-ish players within the community that will show up every so often.
I should also say, spoiler alert for you, the nominations for Warhammer Heroes went out today. The like nominate someone, and I actually put you in for Warhammer Heroes. So
it's amazing.
If you see Trent's name on Warhammer Community for Warhammer Heroes, vote.
Oh,
I know I will.
Vote. That'd be amazing.
It's I'll put in more votes than I did for Clonk. And I put in a lot of votes.
A lot of votes for Clonk.
Mini of the year.
I'll hope I earn it, yeah.
But yeah, no, Warcry is fantastic. We should definitely get it a game at some point, Dylan.
Yeah.
It's been on the list
I'm
for
now
a long
instantly
time.
thinking of, well, I don't need all 6 for Warcry, so I can take one and try and kit bash it into a Lord Invocatus for my World Eaters that my perpetually incomplete World Eaters kits that I kit bashed prior to the new announcements.
And you can also kit bash one just into a Lord on Juggernaut.
Oh, yeah,
so you can have that as your leader for Warcry, then have just some generic guys and Juggernauts, and then bring some just Blood Reavers and such, good options.
Although, can I put in an honorable mention, even though it wasn't technically from this year, but it was games that we played this year?
Yeah. Sure.
Stargrave. Trent and I, early in the year, we set ourselves a pretty ambitious challenge, which then immediately got waylaid with like, all right, every month we're going to try like a new game just to see what it's going all about. And then I think we just played so much Stargrave in January. By the time we got to February, we were like, well, we could do this, or we could just like play Warcry and Stargrave.
Play more Stargrave. Because that was it. It was like we we played 2 full months of Stargrave.
Yeah.
And then we were like, oh, what's the next game on the agenda? We're like, we're going to play Malifaux. And then I was like, Stargrave we learned in like a session, and Malifaux is fun.
Malifaux is a game
incredibly convoluted.
It requires
game.
investment.
I think it's an easy game to play, but a very difficult game to master.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's a hard game to learn, but almost like The Witch of the Old World. It's a hard game to learn, kind of stepping in, but once you've got that loop, it becomes so straightforward and easy to understand. I just think with Malifaux, it's like games go one, 2 directions. Warcry goes in the opposite direction here, where it's like, all rules with exception, but games usually go 1 or 2 directions. Either you care about the core rules, like what is the core gameplay loop, what are the core rules, what are the mechanics that make this game tick in general, and then what are the specific like model rules and army rules and unique rules that I get access to as bringing the models that I've bought. So games like Warhammer 40,000 go very heavily towards what are the rules that I've bought, what are the rules around my models, what does my faction do. Games like Warcry are like, what are the core rules? How does initiative work? How does the movement phase work? How does attacking work?
Full damage.
How's that kind of stuff. So it's very and then your models are all basically like more or less a bit the same, but then they have some minor differences. Whereas with 40k, it's very different. Malifaux is very in the 40k range, where while the game is important, I'm not going to take that away from anyone. Of course, that's my point. It's obviously the core rules are very important. my gosh, your models, rules,
Yeah.
and synergies. That's probably the best word for it. Your synergies are so incredibly important.
Yeah,
If you miss a synergy, sometimes your whole faction will not operate. Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like with the Malifaux core rules is what's really easy to pick up when you start playing.
Absolutely.
It's those synergistic elements of faction play and also trying to understand how your faction interacts with your opponent's faction as well, and what key pieces you need to lock down on that. Look, I probably would compare it to it's an old hand, but the 7th edition and earlier Tyranids, where the biggest benefit you could have as a Tyranids player was knowing what your opponent can do, so that you can poke at the weaknesses in that army until you find one that you can then overwhelm.
Yep.
And in Malifaux, I see that a lot. I see that it's finding out what's the key piece in your opponent's faction so that you can kind of deal
it's
with.
finding the nail for the hammer to strike.
Yeah. And with Malifaux, however, I think that, and this, tell me in the comments if I'm wrong here, I find that's a little bit more nuanced and it's not immediately obvious.
Yes.
In a game like 40k, I think sometimes you could be like, it's pretty immediately obvious where I need to strike.
Yeah.
And then it's more about making the game operate in a way that helps me get to that point. Whereas with Malifaux, it's like, as a good example, like I played a lot of the Bayou faction. I play the Bayou faction primarily. I play Zoraida.
Same, bro.
Yeah, I love Bayou.
I play piggies.
Yeah, I play Bayou and Neverborn, I think they're called, and green and purple. And I really like my Gups and my Spawn Mother and those kind of rules. I really like that's really fun. And painting the models for me was the best part.
They're so well painted.
I love my little guys. And I appreciate that. And then I moved into the Voidlings, and I can't remember the Tara, I think her name is. Yeah, Tara and her Voidlings, which is a different faction. It's like, I want to try something new. Let's build Tara and her Voidlings. Let's get this faction going. And it also means that I had 2 boxes to play if somebody wanted to play Malifaux with me. It was actually to help Connor get into it mostly, but I liked this faction as well, so I bought it. And it was like, I got in like 5 games with it, and I still couldn't work out. And this is also just me. I couldn't work out like the intricacies of the faction really at all. I was trying to like play. I'm like, what is happening? And I had to like watch and read primers to understand even stuff just like it. The whole thing is that it buries units to represent them being sucked into the void, but it buries your opponent's units and buries your own units, and then unburies those units nearby each other, but not nearby certain situations. Like in some situations they can't. In some situations they can. Against some units they can. Against some units they can't. And they make this fairly clear. But to me, I was like, man, if I was learning the game and I just liked void things and I bought this faction to play, I would be out of this game already. I'd be like, what? There's no way. You know what I mean?
Too much situational complexity.
Yeah, very.
It's like a very bad upfront learning experience.
That's how I found, and that's that's also probably unique to that faction. Maybe she's just complicated.
Yeah.
But I found that honestly, to be fair, quite a lot with Malifaux.
Yeah.
So anyway, point being with this whole Malifaux discussion is that we went to Malifaux and went, oh, maybe that's not necessarily for us just playing as like a casual once a month thing.
Yeah.
And then we were like, oh, let's go back to Stargrave, and then we just never went away from Stargrave because that game is great fun.
in time we were both moving, and then we were really into hardcast at the time, so we just couldn't find the time to sit down and play games. And now I feel like we're in a better rhythm. Another thing that I find interesting here is none of us mentioned God tier.
No.
It's for me, it's like I love the game and I've been playing it with my partner recently, but it still feels like a second or third best thing out of.
I enjoy God tier.
Yeah.
I'm still yet to be completely blown away by it, but I've only had a couple of games in.
Yeah.
See, for me, sorry.
I still think it's a fun game.
Yeah.
And I love the mini sculpts, and I haven't painted my guys yet. I think if I actually painted my guy, when I got around to painting my guys and started putting them on the table, there'd be an investment in the game now that hits that level for me where it goes over the line.
Yeah. You've pulled the thought straight out of my brain, which was, I have not had the time to paint my models.
Same.
Since the last episode that we got together, I still have not painted those models because I've been so focused on other games. Again, competitive 40k, I've got a team that I'm with. I've got to get models painted for that. I've been getting a lot into Warcry. I'm making a ton of different factions with that, ton of warbands. That comes with a lot of painting. And because I love Warcry so much, I'm spending so much time on my painting. At the end of the year, we did a painting day. We came together. We all painted our Warcry pile of shames. And I brought my whole primed Cruel Boys warband that I hadn't started painting yet, but just primed them, and 1 primed Iron Jaws model. And in 4.5 hours of painting, and this was pretty non-stop. Like, I stopped to talk a little bit, but I didn't let myself get carried away because I was like, I want to get something done. I had painted legitimately his skin, his ponytail, and his tub. like his crotch like garb thing. I had painted hardly
His
anything.
loincloth.
His
Crotch
loincloth.
garb.
Crotch garb.
Crotch
There you go.
guard.
Crotch garb. But no, his loincloth. Thank you. And his pants. And I painted his like red pants. But this skin I was so proud of. It took so many layers to get right. It looks really good. I'm really happy with it. But taking that much time on those models has also kind of pulled me away from painting my God tier. And I think I'm at the moment I would use the word disillusioned with God tier. Like God tier to me is like I don't find myself super engaged in playing it. Like I like the game. I think it's brilliant. Everything we've said about it in the past is totally true. And I've had people all over the store, like AJ, another member here. Shout out to AJ if you're watching, has been getting into it like non-stop and he's loving the game. Josh over at our Clayfield location.
Yeah, if you want to hear someone gush about God tier, just go to the
gosh.
Clayfield and when Josh is on and be like, just go, hey, what's God tier about? And you'll lose 2 hours of your life.
Like he will go on and in a totally like passionate way. Like he's just brilliant with the game as well. And he just loves it. And my good friend Kian has been playing tons of God tier. It's huge in the store. And I love the game for that. And I love playing the game myself. But yeah, I think my big thing is just I love the sculpts so much that it feels like a disservice playing them with their colors on the table. I want to say gray plastic, but they're all just multicolor, obviously. But it feels like a disservice. So I think, yeah, like you said, once those models are painted and I can bring like Fenrir fully painted to the table, I think I'll enjoy it more. Another layer as well is that I play a lot of games with my partner. Like when I'm at home, I want to play games as well. I don't want to have a game where I'm only coming to the store to play it, or I'm only going to events to play it, or I'm only doing kind of community enrichment with it. I feel like I want to play games that I, again, want to play and organize with the people that I know and love. And my partner is not really into it at the moment. Like they're not really playing much God tier at the moment. So that's been another reason I haven't had a chance to play it much. So
Let's tee up.
yeah, we'll have to tee it up.
Tee it up.
We'll have to tee it up for sure.
Yeah.
Organization.
Organization. It's tough. But yeah, I think maybe there is a layer where God tier feels very. I think the word I would use is arcadey to me. It's a very like arcadey system.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels jump in, jump out. But in that respect, I don't feel committed to it.
Yeah. Yeah, same.
I feel like I could just put a $2 coin into this game and play it and then go home and feel like I had a good evening with my mate. But I wouldn't be like, I have to come back next week and play again.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Ready?
Well, for me, another game that's gone really well.
We'll just keep looping.
Yeah, we'll just keep looping. Actually, the format now, not necessarily a game, but a format of Magic the Gathering that we got big into this year. Poor BDH. Woo! Yep. Netherworld, our homies at Netherworld started running Trash MTG this year, which is their like Monday night monthly event around Pauper EDH. For those that know that Pauper EDH is, it's like regular Commander, except every card is common except for your Commander, which can be any uncommon creature.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be legendary.
Doesn't have to be legend. Some of us are idiots like me who go, but what if it was legendary?
You do play Shaman of the Pack though.
Yeah. I have one non-legendary commander in that Shaman of the Pack.
I got that Corozda Guild Mage popping off.
I think that there are so many, both now downshifted, that's a huge thing, but mostly just printed, uncommon legendaries that now you really can just abolish that rule and have still a bunch of completely different decks that exist in the format. However, that's what's, I do like that that exists.
It leaves it open to make it a more like efficient game. I think because Pauper EDH games can go for a while. Due to the lack of,
meaningful
I guess,
interaction.
effective interaction. But I'm finding myself like slipping further into the Pauper EDH hole, where now I'm at my 5th deck that's coming in from Card Kingdom. This is how I haven't told you this story. I told you this story, but I haven't told you, Connor, or anyone else out there. Well, other people on the comments or watching this. We had the work Christmas party.
Yeah, over at the new Lost Souls
karaoke bar on Sunday. And we finished up, went home, 12 o'clock, go to bed, right? And, we got work on Monday morning. So should have gone to sleep at 12 o'clock. What did Dylan do? No, drunk Dylan did not go to sleep.
Hold on.
He's not responsible for his actions.
Both Trent and Dylan are sloshed out of our minds. Not drunk. Drunk is very much a loose term. I'm waddling home. I'm all over the footpath trying to get home. You and I were completely sloshed.
I was very chatty in the car back home, on the way back home.
You live like 10 minutes from the bar.
I do.
Literally, it's a straight road.
It's a straight road, and it's like less than 10
for Trent
minutes.
on Sunday night.
No.
When does curve get here?
Yeah.
So what did drunk Dylan do rather than go to sleep at 12 o'clock in the morning so that he could wake up nice and early to look after his child before coming into work? Well, I then proceeded to spend 2 hours researching +1/+1 counter strategies in white-green for common cards, and then building and purchasing an entire +1/+1 counters white-green deck from Card Kingdom.
Oh,
So
amazing.
he brewed.
new deck in the new year.
Yep. I recently, so obviously I've been playing a lot of Pauper EDH myself. I have 10 Pauper EDH decks. I recently just moved 8 of them to a big deck box so I could bring it in like by itself, and then me and my mates could play it together. And recently I found out that the Doctor Who Commander decks have uncommon legendaries in them.
Yep.
And I went, oh, what's going on here? And I found one that I
Is it
was
the mono
just...
red?
it's the
Mono red girl?
This card I was enamored by. I was like, in 2023, this is an uncommon creature, by the way. And I kid you not. Connor, can you please bring up Iraxa, Empress of Mars? And this is my new commander. So again, I've actually played this normal commander now, and it slaps. This deck slaps.
I had Slimefoot for so long.
Oh yeah. This
That's
deck
an
slaps.
uncommon commander.
Well, considering this deck is also all commons, this kind of slaps. So this is I can't see it from here, so we have to guess it. Okay, let's see if Trent can get this right. All right. So it's a 2/2 red for a 5/4. Okay.
Yep.
It's an alien warrior, and it has trample.
Yep.
It also comes with battle cry.
Yes.
So when they attack, all other attacking creatures get +1/+2 until end of turn. She also has the reminder keyword paradox, which says when you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you create a 2/2 alien warrior creature token. And she is a 5/4 for 4 with trample. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I built this commander.
So already statted amazingly.
By the way, this is the same converted mana cost, power toughness, and trample as Yidris Maelstrom Wielder. That's the same rate you're getting it for.
That is a 4 mana rare.
That is a 4 mana rare. That's a mythic.
Sorry, 4 mana mythic.
Mythic. Now, here's the thing, right? So, this commander, I put every flashback, every madness, every discover, every cascade, every jumpstart, every foretell,
Every
every
chaos.
suspend.
Please tell me put every chaos that you could fit in there. Is there any there's got to be like 1 or 2 common chaos cards.
No. There's not
Really?
really any chaos. No chaos stuff. It's just all cast from.
I don't know.
There's like impulse draw, so like Ren's
yeah,
resolves
yeah,
and such. It's all cast from exile, cast from graveyard, cast from exile. Like so much of it. And obviously with actually we'll get into this in a sec. But with Discover as a keyword that just came out in Ixalan, this deck is just incredible, and I'm having such fun with it. And it's like very often Irax will come out, and by the next turn I'm attacking with her and a creature. Next turn I'm attacking with her and 6 creatures. Like this deck
That's
goes
so
so
dumb.
hard. It's very powerful, and the fact that she makes 2/2s are very powerful stat lines that, for reference, she will make into 3/2s when she attacks. So they're basically like the rate of like Eldrazi horrors from Eldritch Moon. They're 3/2s.
That's good. Well, that's funny because when we talk about like uncommons and where they are now, like Commander Masters, as annoying as that set was, it did give us some really great downshifts into uncommon, which meant that now I can play Akiri Fearless Voyager and go full on Boros equipment in Pauper EDH, which was not doable before that.
Absolutely, and I learned that Goreclaw, Terror of
Yeah.
Kalsisma, one of my favorite commanders in general, is now an uncommon in Commander Masters.
No.
I was like, oh, I can play this.
Yeah.
So
Valda, Keeper of the Flame, is playable. It's playable in Pauper. I haven't
Very good.
shifted the deck yet, but it's on my Christmas holiday brew list. I'm going to be
I think
organizing the collection and getting a
even
few. new
Dragon
Pauper-
Mantle's a common, surely. It's like all those
Yeah.
like enchantments
Yeah.
destroy your card. Like there's a bunch of those in
Yeah.
common,
A lot of the
surely.
Cheerios are uncommon too.
There's that
Yeah.
new
Sorry,
one,
uncommon as well.
Yeah.
Itali's Favor, which is 3 mana ++on trample enchantment that discovers 3 when you cast it.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty gross.
Pretty good.
I've got the Explorer Scope as well for that land fetching.
That card's really good. That goes in a lot of my decks.
Came in clutch in our episode of Hardcast.
So I remember.
Yeah.
Well, even like just seeing how pushed uncommons are now too with Araxar, like the white green counter deck I built was the new Kutzul deck.
Yeah.
Kutzul is an uncommon commander that is opponents can't cast spells during your turn.
Yeah, it's
And
a
then
3 mana 3/3.
It's a 3 mana 3/3, 1 white green creature. Opponents can't cast spells during your turn, and if a creature you control with a higher power than its base power
Correct.
deals combat damage to an opponent,
Draw
draw
a
a
card.
card.
It's one or more
1 or more. Yeah.
creatures, but not one or more players.
Yeah.
So it's Kutzil. I want to say. I could be wrong. There we
Yeah,
go.
Malamat Exemplar.
Malamet Exemplar. Because I actually thought their name was Malamet, but I was like, I'm not going to correct you there
It's
because
a
that could be wrong.
Malamute.
But the Malamet are the cat people of Ixalan.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're absolutely incredible. So again, it's like such a good card. A 3-mana 3/3 that lets you block out your opponent's spells. Like it's like it's easy play in CDH like niche. It's kind of another grand abolisher in most decks that play it. Like I know that people are playing it in Rocco from New Capenna.
Yep.
Also an uncommon commander that is CDH playable, mind you. So there you go. And then yeah, I think that there's just like so much card draw in this kind of like any card draw in the command zone is always very powerful, obviously. But in Pauper EDH it's even more so because again, especially in white green, you're not playing Guardian Projects, you're not playing Elemental Bond, you're not playing Tocassia's Welcome or Esper Sentinel. You don't have card draw. Yeah, you're very limited in your options for sure. But those are just some exact examples you don't have access to. So for those at home who are very comfortable with their mythics and rares from Modern Horizons.
So Pauper EDH, big thing for me now. I'm at 5 decks. I'm probably going to get to 6. I'm also thinking up a Totentans, Rakdos Rats.
We talked about this
Ratdos deck.
Rakdos. Ratdos. We also, no announcements here because we're not finalized the details, but I've already spoken to Ben, who owns Netherworld, or co-owns. I've spoken to Ben about it, and I've spoken to you about it before, but we are also hoping to take the reins of Trash MTG and look at doing that at Vault as well, because I really want to support it here as well, because I love Pauper EDH, and we have enough players here who are like budding Pauper players.
Yep.
Or those that are very committed. We have Ethan Calais comes to the store, brings 12 just actual Pauper decks in all the time, because it is a 4 of a kind format normally. Brings those in all the time. But I know a lot of people who really want to get into it, and it's such an easy way for people to go through their our chaff in the store. Who cares? Go through some chaff, get all the cards you want to put together, bring one uncommon, non-legendary card. Again, we talked about your commander was
Krozda Guildmage.
Krozda Guildmage is a great example. Just bring a little uncommon guy that costs like 30 cents but does some pretty cool stuff and play a deck. And that's like, it's so cool to get people into it. And
keep an eye out on the Hardcast YouTube channel for an announcement coming soon regarding Pauper EDH.
Pauper EDH as well. So that's very cool. That's we're on the end of those works as well. So that's really exciting too.
Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah, Pauper EDH definitely.
Pauper EDH.
Yeah.
It's got me.
What's another game in the tank that you enjoyed this year, Trent?
Another game in the tank that I have been enjoying this year. I would say, obviously, we ran our Age of Sigmar League. I play Age of Sigmar every year. It almost feels like a cop-out, but I love Age of Sigmar. I think at the moment, the big thing to talk about with that game is the Dawnbringer Chronicles, which is Age of Sigmar loves to do releases based on its lore and its story, and currently we're in the middle of what they call the Dawnbringer Chronicles. And what they're doing is they're releasing these really cool box sets with these characters that are just some of the most impressive sculpts we have seen from Games Workshop in any of their games. We had, very close to my heart, we had, of course, Trug, King of the Trogoths. Trug. So that was very cool. We've had a character from the Stormcast to make his way back, a Knight Relictor of the Stormcast, now on the back of a Stormdrake Dragon.
That model was also only available.
Cryptborn?
Yes, Ionis Cryptborn.
And he was only available in the original starter set, I believe.
Correct. So now you could get that model still, but that model is now just a generic Lord Relictor. Sorry. But that was the name of that character when that box came out. So he just disappeared from the lore since then. He went like AWOL, and now he's back, which is very cool. We have Belthanos, the Kurnoth, and the leader of the Great Hunt, the Evergreen Hunt, which is just an incredible sculpt again. Speaking of guys on the back of beetles, Sylvaneth love that aesthetic, but he looks absolutely incredible. Everything they're doing with these Dawnbringer Chronicles are just incredible. Even just the little guys like Gloomspike Gitz got a Dawnbringer Chronicles box, and they got like one little guy. He's got this squig skull over his face, and he's got like 3 bat squigs flying up over him. And it's just
Rabble-Rouser?
Yeah, the Rabble-Rouser. Just incredible models.
Even the resculpt of the what was it? It's like is it the Harbinger of Decay or the Lord of Decay?
It's
it's
a longer name, but the on the back of the horse.
The Noble
Such a
Horseman.
good
I think that was the
model.
first Dawnbringer Chronicles
Yeah, it
box.
was. Yeah.
That's one of the best
so
models that
Fire
we've seen.
Slayer's got a box, and it looks exactly like every other Fire Slayer's box.
We don't talk about Fire Slayers. Okay.
I love them, but I wish they'd do more with them.
Yeah.
Something that's not just, big dragon and shirtless dudes with axes.
I mean, I'm kind of bad because I just want more. Yeah, they in
There was Little
Warcry.
Dragons.
Oh, yeah, true.
in
Yeah.
Warcry, yeah.
I
Best
guess.
Warcry release
Again.
of the year. Vulcan Flameseekers.
Yeah.
The Kindle Droth. Best model of the year. Clonk.
Clock.
Clonk
Yeah,
is the
Clonk,
best.
Clonk,
Like
yeah.
the
And
best model they've ever made.
Yeah, I think moving into Warcry again in that discussion, I have been playing the new Cruel Boys Monster Killers, have these like Mandrill guys, which are just absolutely like amazing.
I
Just
do
so
like
cool.
that in the Flesh Eater Courts box that came out as well. There's the undead version of those Mandrills.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Oh, yeah, not the True Blades, the Royal Beast Flayers.
The Royal Beast Flayers, yeah, they're very cool.
It seems to be a little bit of a theme going on with Warcry at the moment, is that all of the warbands are getting their like little buddies, the little animal friends.
They know what they're doing there, I think. Yeah.
I really, really like the look of the new flesh eater courts that are coming out too.
Oh, incredible.
The new king, was it? I forget his name.
Yeah.
The king is just
Yeah.
It looks so good. I really
the
love
Lord
that
of,
they.
the Lord of something. The Lord of Crowns? Lord of Masks.
Lord of Masks.
The Lord of Masks.
I really love that Games Workshop has taken the vampire counts from Old World and gone, what if they went two ways? What if they retained their vampireness, like their regality, and that's your Soul Black Gravelords? And then you go, now what if they were locked in a crypt and no one let them out for a very long time and they went a little bit crazy?
It's kind of like if you're an Elder Scrolls fan, it's kind of like the Falmer, it kind of reminds me of. They're very much like the Falmer. Right?
Yes.
That's kind of that vibe. I think they're great like that. And yeah, the new Vargolf courtier sculpt is incredible. The new the Seneschal, which is like the guy with the keys around his neck, he's incredible.
The guy with the big barrister wig
Yeah,
made out of
barrister
guts.
wig, yeah.
Like,
Dude, the like intestinal barrister wig, like just yeah. So you'll see there actually on the army set the battle tome. So when I saw the battle tome, right, it has the Seneschal's face on it, and I saw this battle tome cover, and I was like, well, that's a bit boring. It's like, oh, okay, it's just like some guy's like face, he's just yelling. That's like that face right there is the face on the battle tome, and I went like, oh, that's kind of okay. But on the back of the battle tome is his face again, but like as a human, as like a regal king. So how he sees himself, and then on the front is that like horrible beast Seneschal. So again, anything that kind of calls back to that kind of the great disillusion of their lore is just so freaking cool. So these sculpts are amazing. They're incredible. I also like that they're not as androgynous. The ghouls, like there's actually like female presenting ghouls that have like they're like the decaying sagging titties, but they're like maybe shuffle that one out.
It's been a good year for female representation in other factions like the Vulcan Flame Seekers. We got female dwarves,
female
dwarves.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
I like that a lot, yeah. So again, Age of Sigmar is I always look at every time they do like a Warhammer Fest or they show off new models, they show off like the Horus Heresy, the 40k. Age of Sigmar wins every time, hands down. Every time their models are the best. Their team is always knocking it out of the park. And this year was no exception. And again, I say this a million times, I'll say it again. I'm a models guy. I'm a hobby guy. I'm the kind of person who likes building boards. Like I love building like interesting boards with like lanes of play, but also a lot of cool aesthetics that match the rug they're on. Like that's what I really want to do. And I could literally just build boards for people and watch them play their painted models all day, every day and never play another game because the hobby and the building and all that and this expression is everything I love about the game. So Age of Sigmar will always probably be my favorite game to play miniatures wise
every year.
Every
Look
year.
for the list next year and see if Trent says
See
Age
if
of
Trent
Sigmar
says
again.
Age of Sigmar again. I'll say it right at the very end. I'll be like, it's combat, but Age of Sigmar. That's my answer.
Black Talons as well. I forgot. That's another one we should mention. The Black Talons.
Of course, with the show
sculpts,
on Warhammer Community and then the book that came out. And then, of course, their Warcry Warband, which is incredible.
Yes.
And very, very rarely, in fact, I can't come up with another example on the spot where they will take a different faction's model and put it into a warband. So while the Black Talons are a Stormcast Eternals warband, they have a single Ideneth Deepkin model with all of the key runes you need for that. Rune marks, you need for that. But it goes in their faction. So, and it has the stat line and the abilities to make it feel like an Ideneth model. And that kind of has a bit of poetry and kind of synergy with how they work as well. So it's very cool.
It does. Cool. It feels a little bit almost like an Underworlds type thing where they've got a little bit more expression in the models, but it plays in Warcry. And we had a player who's come in and he's running the Black Talons. I think it's Chris. Chris is coming in and he's running the Black Talons and they're looking quite good. And it's very interesting that they would release them and then the Questor Soulsworn that kind of fill
Soulsworn first, right?
Yeah, Soulsworn came out first and the Black Talons came out after. And it's like two warbands of Stormcast that kind of do the same thing. They're elite and, they do the things very well. But with Black Talons, it's like what you get is all you can bring. And you can't bring any more and you can't bring any less.
Yeah, I think that with the Black Talons, each like model does feel very like they have a very specific purpose. And they're all very unique from each other. And you put them in different parts of the board and they all help out with each other in very different ways. Whereas I do think the Questor Soulsworn, the big difference is that they blend together a lot. Like they're all good at kind of everything. The Questor Soulsworn are a funny faction where I kind of recommend them to anyone who's learning Warcry because they're a great faction. They're easy to learn. They're easy to play. They're very synergistic, but they're so good at everything. They're not the best at anything I've seen, but they're really good at anything. The only thing I won't lie, the only thing they were the best at was they had to errata them and FAQ their teleport because before they could teleport any friendly unit. And they were like, better put the rune mark on that because you just ally anything you want from order and teleport a Croxigord 4 inches out from your opponent and go gameplay.
Yeah.
But they went, oh, maybe not.
Not
Nice
the
first-
Croxigors need help with movement. You know,
Nice first
Yeah.
turn, loser.
Yeah, exactly, right. So they're just like,
you cannot deploy from deep strike. I've moved my Croxigor into your deployment
in
zone.
your deployment zone. No! So yeah, just incredible stuff. But yeah, so Age of Sigmar, like it's almost cheating, but I do think that's up there as one of the games we're really enjoying.
Yeah.
Sorry, Connor, do you have one before I get to my next one?
I just want to say one that we've started getting into it, and it's probably going to be more of a next year thing. Gaslands. Trent and I have been
Yes.
perusing the Hot Wheels availability whenever we go out and just a little wander in the city. Anything with flat panels.
I've been looking at Hot Wheels stuff. Quite funny going home from the Christmas party on Sunday when we went through the Fortitude Valley metro station. There is a Hot Wheels vending machine in there.
I did not know that.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going.
I haven't been at the Valley Station in a while,
Same.
so
I'm scared of it.
we got to make
No longer.
We'll have to make the trip now.
Well,
I definitely
maybe
spent
not
a couple of
tonight,
minutes there looking through that and be like,
it's so close to me. I could definitely do that.
wonder if I could turn that into a Gaslands car.
I want to find an ambulance. I want to find a Hot Wheels ambulance or a Matchbox. I'm not picky.
I think, I got a Matchbox car recently. That's what
Yeah.
I use. But yeah, they're
And I want to, because it's flat panels, but I just want to put guns on it because I've got so many 40k bits, like so many bolters, and even I've got so many Necromunda bits,
yeah.
which I might touch on Necromunda later on. But yeah, I'm like, oh, it's such a cool game, and I've got the rules sitting there for the longest time, and Trent was like, I'm keen, and I'm like, I'm keen too. And now that you've got Hot Wheels as well,
I've been looking. I
Yeah.
haven't bought any yet, but I've been looking. I've been thinking about
they can be
it.
pretty expensive, I hear.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
quite an
Yeah.
investment, Hot Wheels.
yeah,
Speaking of bits.
yeah.
That's the game I want to talk about. I tell you, can't believe a lot, didn't mention it, but it's actually called Malagast.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it came to my mind to talk about Malifaux, but we're going to talk about now Malagast, a game that I'm sure nobody here has heard of. And if you have, please shout it out in the comments. Connor, can you please bring up Maleghast? It's by the creator of Lancer, the RPG with mechs. Or if you know the webcomic Kill 6 Billion Demons, they've written that as well. It's Magna Gothica Malagast, if I remember the name correctly. But what's his name again, Connor? The author?
Tom Bloom.
Tom Bloom, of course. I don't know why I thought Mel Brooks. Where's that from? Anyway, Tom Bloom. I was gonna say, I'm like that kind of not even
Spaceballs.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, okay, so that's not true at all.
It's the
anyway,
Schwartz.
Tom Bloom. I see your Schwartz is as big as mine. Let's see how you handle it. Anyway, Malagast. So, what is Malagast? Malagast is a small skirmish-based game. Jacob Middleby, shout out Jacob in the chat if you're there.
He's here earlier today.
Yeah, he would have been. He's in here quite often, actually. He came out to me and he was talking about playing it. He's a big Vampire the Masquerade, like LARPer. He loves these kind of necromantic, horror kind of, like cutie kind of vibe games. And this fills all of these really well. So it's a skirmish game, but it's played on a small grid the size of a chessboard. If I remember correctly, it's like 8x8. It's played on a chessboard grid. You have a necromancer character who's part of like a faction, a necromancer style faction. It's kind of like postmodern, so there's militaristic weapons like guns and stuff like that. But you're a necromancer. You have a group of ghouls that you've summoned, different ranks of ghouls. You make a small like warband out of them, akin to something like Stargrave or Frostgrave, or any kind of those games. Even almost like Warcry, where you kind of pick a hero, put you guys in. But you're very limited on like how many elites you could bring. You only bring like one heavy unit, and then you put terrain down and elevation on the board on this like little like 8x8 grid, and then you fight each other, and you have to defeat their necromancer. If your necromancer goes down, cool, game's over. All your ghouls just drop dead because your necromancer's controlling them. And there's like some missions with objectives and such, and treasures and such, and it's a narrative kind of role-playing game system where you play multiple matches, but mostly it's just skirmish, kill the other necromancer. It's hard to kill necromancers because their ghouls can take hits for them if they're next to them, no matter what.
Sir.
Yeah, look out, sir. Very much so hard to kill necromancers. So the idea of the game is that if you get to the point where your necromancer is going to die, you nope out. You're like, I surrender. And your necromancer runs away and you go, let's play next game. I lose next game. So it's very rare that you lose your necromancer role-playing game-wise, but when you're playing like skirmish, you just kind of go to the death.
Yeah.
Super cute, super fun. It's totally miniatures agnostic. It has no miniatures at all.
Kind of similar to like Stargrave and Frostgrave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Except, unlike those, this is actually designed for virtual tabletop.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
actually not designed at all for physical tabletop. However, I don't care. L Plus didn't ask because I'm taking my Warhammer Fantasy bases and making little models for them all.
Bust out your Skull Pass minis.
Exactly.
It's time.
Bust them out. And yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with this game. It's great fun. Shout out at home if you've ever played Yu-Gi-Oh! The Duelists of the Roses on PlayStation. This game was just this random dungeon dice monsters game. It like you would My mum bought it for me because she's like, Trent, you play the Yu-Gi-Oh card game with your friends. I'm like, yeah, I do. All my friends, I definitely have. And she's like,
because I play Yu-Gi-Oh.
I think I actually gave you my copy because I had it on PlayStation 2. And
this is
you're like,
probably true. That's
Yeah.
the copy that I have now is probably the one you've given me in
Yeah.
the past. I know Jaden, our good friend, also has this game.
Yeah.
And it's the one that my mom got it for me. And then you play Duels of the Roses, and it's not Yu-Gi-Oh at all. It's not the game at all. It uses all of the characters. It's like
someone did a
Kaiba
licensed
and-
property of their own game.
Exactly. It's like
inside this.
Kaiba and Yugi and such, and they're fighting. However, it's also an alternate universe where they're actually like in Victorian Europe.
Oh, it's
And
well before
it's
Victorian.
we-
That's like Tudor. Like
Is
era.
it?
Yeah, it's like way like the War of the Roses was an actual thing.
Yeah, but I don't think this is set during that time, right? It's just a reflection of that era.
No, it was set like way back
Oh.
at the beginning of the game. It's like back in like 1183 or something like
Oh,
that.
okay.
It's like,
Damn.
Tudor
Yeah.
times, yeah.
yeah,
Damn.
Tudor town.
Okay. So because
Tudor Town.
Yeah.
Town. But yeah, so it's like as
Yeah.
Connor mentioned, it is a reference to the War of the Roses. But the plot's like totally different. And even though it just uses the characters and the cards, then yeah, it's like this game that, and it kind of sucks, honestly. I played it as an adult. It kind of sucks. It's kind of crap, but it's so much nostalgia. And then playing this game, again, I touched on this when I talked about Legion Imperialis, but it's this modernization. It works. It's competitive. It feels really fun and grindy to play in a way that makes you really want to play the game tactically, but it's got this nostalgia factor that kind of hits home, where it's like, I love this silly chessboard design of game. You can, like, I've printed off little, like, cubic cards that have, like, terrain on them that I've just drawn and colored in some terrain pieces. And I'll just shift those around on a board. And, like, that's a map. And I'll just move them around. That's another map. And it's very easy just to randomize stuff. It's great fun. I haven't got my models finished yet for the faction I want to play. But, yeah, the PDFs, like, he did a Kickstarter for it. And then when the Kickstarter was funded, he made the PDF. And he put it on his Dropbox and gave it to everyone for free. So anyone who backed the Kickstarter got it. And everybody who didn't also just got it for free. And he said, if you have this PDF, give it to all your friends. Because I don't want to make money off this product as like a product you can purchase. If you want to support me, send me money. If you want to support this project ever happening, I appreciate the people who've gone to the Kickstarter. I think he did like merch, like shirts and such as part of the Kickstarter, but the game itself is free. So it's also just great for that. So this is a small thing. I just want to mention it. I love Malagast. If you're at home, please get involved with this game, Malagast. Talk to friends. I think, so it's $6.66, but you can also get it from his C666. Very funny. $6.66 US, but I think you can also get it from like his Kickstarter as well. There's like ways to get it pretty easily. It's very good. Also, I just would recommend spending $6.66 US on it because it's a great game, and I really recommend supporting developer anyway. But yeah, the website's so easy to find. It's the first Google result in Malagast, Magna Gothica Malagast. So it's been my game.
And we also enjoyed Lancer earlier this year as well. So.
We were playing some Lancer. Lancer is so incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my god! If you haven't tried Lancer, if you're any kind of Gundam fan, Evangelion fan, if you're a fan of anything like
Cowboy Bebop,
Cowboy Bebop, yeah, definitely.
Mecha sci-fi, really.
Mecha sci-fi, any of those kind of like settings, Lancer is the setting for you. And if you love games that, okay, this is the thing that I've noticed a lot of gamers in role-playing games is like, sometimes you want a system that rewards you for metagaming. And the way this system rewards you for metagaming is so poetic. It's very conducive to good gameplay that you are playing like over comms and you're playing tactically and you talk to each other about like, oh, this guy's, you scan a model and you'll learn like all of the mechs like stuff. And you'll explain to the other players over comms like, hey, you know, his gun on his left arm is like, you know, that's the one that I've just shot. You need to go after that one, that kind of stuff. This is his exact health left. This is exactly what you need to do to him on this turn. It works just so well. So Lancer RPG made also by, of course, Mel Brooks. Kidding.
Robin Hood Men in Tights as well.
Tom Bloom. Love it. So definitely get involved with that.
Grass in the house.
Cool. Well, that's basically what we were looking back on for 2023. But now let's have a look forward. We're getting close to 2024. By the time this comes out, we're probably like, I think I'm going to be releasing this one the week of Christmas, or I might release this one quickly, depending on how I edit. But
Only time will tell.
only time will tell.
For us, not for you.
Not for you.
It'll be
You'll
already
just
there
get
for
it.
you. Yeah.
But
Shout in the comments what time of the year this is.
but the but what are we looking forward to in 2024? Like, obviously, there's a lot of stuff that's already been announced. I mean, we can go both ways too. What are you not looking forward to in 2024 as well? You know, there's always clouds on the horizon as well, as a sunrise.
Yeah.
So
Like a sunrise.
It's so
Just trying to
hot,
be
Trent.
poetic, man.
Like a sunrise.
Leo, so hot today, Rhonda. Like a sunrise.
Best way to flog insurance.
I'll say the first point is I'm not just gonna say all the same games I'm already playing.
Yeah.
But I will say Legion Imperialis. It only dropped like November.
Yeah.
Or like the end of this year, so it's really brand new in my brain. So I'm very excited to be playing that over the course of the whole next year, and that also goes for Stargrave because we're getting involved with that with some of this friend of ours, Jamin, who's also a star member. He's playing some Stargrave with us soon. And we're doing a little bit of it at our Warcry nights, which is more like skirmish nights. It's just been so Warcry focused recently. So those are like the two games I'm already playing and are excited to go in 22-4 with. How do you feel about new releases, Dylan? Do you have anything over the horizon?
I'm like, obviously, we got the article about Star Wars Unlimited. I'm looking forward to Star Wars Unlimited.
Yeah.
How'd I miss Star Wars Unlimited? How'd I miss that? So excited for Star Wars Unlimited.
The announcements, the card spoilers they've been doing for the last 2 months straight have been absolute fire. I'm looking forward to this set. It's not coming until March, so still a few months away. But I like the gameplay. I like the designs that they're coming up with. It'd be interesting to see how it also continues on next year post set number 1.
Yeah.
And what that product availability looks like, because product availability is always what kills a card game. Looking at you,
Lorcana.
Lorcana.
No Lorcana discussion.
No Lorcana here. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what that does. I'm also looking forward to how that gets picked up by players, and what organized play looks like in the store as well.
I will say that people have been coming into the store recently and buying sleeves for preparation of it. So I've had some customers come in and be like, I'm like, oh, what are you getting into? Like new Commander or something? Like, oh no, I'm getting it for Star Wars Unlimited. Like, gonna get into that game. I was like, oh, amazing. Well, we'll be supporting it, so come in and play.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, particularly with like the other side of the TCG coin next year, which is Magic. Which, you know, a bit of a downer for 2024, but draft boosters are going away, which means sealed and limited events are going up in price by 32%
because they're being replaced by
play boosters, which is the same price as set boosters.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I just had a quick question about the play boosters. So they're functionally like the set boosters, right?
a bit of adjustment on the contents.
Okay.
But I think in layman's terms, yes,
Yeah.
they are
So
set
there will be
boosters.
list cards going into
1 and 8 will have a list card. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Now
so-
the thing though is that the list will be greater curated
Yeah.
to match the draft environment. So you're not
Okay.
going to get like the large list we have currently, and the list for each set allegedly will be much more curated. So you're
Kind of like
expecting
special guests.
Yeah, special
Yeah.
guests. So you're going into the same archetypes you would expect.
But yeah, so play boosters, we'll see what they look like. I don't know. I mean, what it's going to look like next year. Based on feedback that I've gotten, I'm expecting a significant reduction in engagement for draft events. Which, you know, if we get through to March, that's fine, because then Star Wars will come out.
Yeah, and hopefully that'll help.
And that'll help, and we'll run Friday Night
I think
Star
you finally
Wars.
just ditch Magic altogether, and then no more Magic. I'm just
know
kidding.
what?
Look, I do think that this is hitting the discussion we've had.
Yeah, it's hard to pull away from 30% of your revenue.
Yeah, okay, all right. I don't disagree. I'm saying that I will say that we're hitting the discussions we were having with Commander Masters, where we're getting to the point where it's like, it doesn't matter what the product starts to look like, we're not justifying the price tag.
Correct.
It's getting to that point now. So that's a very dangerous thing. When it was Commander Masters, and it kind of, no matter how you looked at and you may disagree with me, but no matter how you looked at that product, the answer always came back to, well, we just don't buy it. But draft, now that we're getting to draft, which is the primary way a lot of our players play the game. In fact, I know people who exclusively play that way. As a good example, Callum, one of our players there, one of our consistent drafters, love the guy. One time when we didn't have the right boosters for draft boosters left for prizes, we were handing out set boosters because it was a very, very rare situation. We were like, hey guys, bad news, no draft boosters. I know. Good news, set boosters, higher value guys. And most people in the draft were like, oh, sick, what? Set boosters for prizes? Okay. But Callum was like, hey, can I please just wait for next week and get draft boosters next week? Like when you get it back in? I'll wait whenever. Because he doesn't even open them when he gets them. He takes them home and builds a draft pod and then plays draft.
Yeah.
Because he loves only playing draft. So there are so many people in our community, that's just an example of it, but there are so many people in our community who's the way they engage with the game of Magic at a core level is drafting. And if it's not those who play that and then translate into other formats, it's those who play that and only that. So it is very scary when that level of gameplay becomes, oh, just don't buy. Because then it's like, just don't play at all.
Don't play the game? Yeah.
Don't play the game? Yeah, okay, stop investing altogether. So yeah, very spooky. But Also, I hope that, we can come out of it and Hasbro / Wizards of the Coast can kind of realize the mistakes they're making before it becomes too late.
Yeah.
Because that's something that Hasbro, has in tons is forethought,
Look, it's only been like 30 years of the company being around, so.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, people have
That's
asked
Wizards, not
what's the
Hasbro.
experience of Limited going to be like with play boosters as well. The best thing I can point to is essentially Wilds of Eldraine. Like, if people ask, like, what type of cards are we going to get? Well, Wilds of Eldraine with the Enchanting Tales extra sheet essentially had up to 3 rares in a pack.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, and at a rate that kind of matches where the play booster is going to sit. So if you want to know what your draft environment will look like from a power perspective, given this, it all depends on the set design as well. But when you're looking at the fact that, rares and mythics are obviously more powerful than everything else, if you want to look at like that kind of level, then Wilds of Eldraine is a good kind of benchmark.
That and March of the Machine as well, right? With their sheet of all the extra characters.
Multiverse
coming
Legends,
in.
yeah.
Yeah. However, those were a lot less curated. So Wilds of Eldraine is a better example, but that also kind of harkens to that set design.
Yeah. And then you're looking at the new Universes Beyond stuff going into the new year as well, and like that's going to be.
I dislike it because of the price, but I am a massive Fallout fan. In case you
Yeah.
couldn't
So-
tell from the business I created with the name Vault Games.
I definitely have hit the bias button. I also am a huge fan of Fallout. I grew up with Fallout 1 and 2.
Same.
And I've mentioned that on the podcast before. God, I love those games so much. I think I've played so much New Vegas, I could write essays on that game. I just love Fallout in the series. So I'll be getting all 4 of those decks. I think those decks will sell super well. I think it's a huge IP. And even though I too have had my grievances with Universe Beyond, I think it's so unfortunate how loose my philosophy feels when it becomes Fallout. And I go, well,
But it's
oh my God, but it's Fallout.
Super Mutants though.
There was like Doctor Who, and I was like, okay.
If only we could have this enthusiasm for Wasteland Warfare,
Yeah, right. But then Fallout, for me,
Proprietary dice systems, bro.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sorry to do it to you.
Yeah.
But no, I think that here's my point in the Fallout decks, okay? Here's my point. Doctor Who is such a crap introduction to the game for players. It does a lot of things right. It does a lot of things really wrong, in my opinion. The amount of light I've seen die in people's eyes when they're trying to read the Jeskai 10th Doctor deck, like the David Tennant Doctor.
Yeah.
This 10th, right? Yeah. The David Tennant Doctor. That deck just puts people that like their head spins. Like just makes them so dizzy. Every card, every saga, every enchantment has like just a marathon of text on it. It's like an Alexander Clamilton deck. It's a marathon. It's all wordy. It's like 11 lines of text just to say, exile top card, put 3 time counters on it. And it's all with that and all the reminder text of how that works. It's so much to just break down as a player that if you're getting into the game because you're like, I love David Tennant and who doesn't, trust. If that's what you're getting into it for, you're just like lost.
Yeah.
I don't know. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think the Fallout deck's going to solve that problem at all. In fact, I feel like they make that problem worse.
I just lean into it.
They lean into it even harder. Look at the fact that Dr. Liu is Dr. Lee, is energy tribal. Like it's energy counters
And
from Kaladesh.
That's pushing your button.
That's
right
pushing my button, as we definitely
And
know.
that was a lot of fun during the Kaladesh era.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite mechanics of all time in Magic, regardless of how it works. But I can't imagine being a new player getting into the game, picking up a Dr. Lee deck and going, oh, I'm going to play Magic for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm playing energy counters.
It definitely-
Even the Mothman deck. Yeah. Sorry, even the Mothman deck with the first time we're introducing deciduous counters on players, which is to say that when you use the counter on the player, you remove it. So rad counters, when your opponent mills the card, they lose the rad counter. So now, only if they hit a non-land card. See? Or this one mechanic, it is you have 5 rad counters, you mill 5 cards, and then for every non-land card you hit, you remove a rad counter. So the idea is that your rads are like ticking back down as you're like kind of getting out of the rad zone, whatever. And the Mothman deck, or at least the Mutants deck, seems to be focused around the rad counters and proliferating and Storm. Can you imagine your first time playing Magic the Gathering and you're playing rad counters with Proliferate and Storm? Just explain to people that Proliferate doesn't target is a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you explain Storm to a new player?
Even you've gotten Proliferate wrong on Hardcast because of the targeting, the weird targeting rules.
That's right, because I remember asking Damien, being like, "Oh, can I target the suspend cards? Surely not." And he goes, "Oh yeah, absolutely." And I was like, "That makes sense." And we're just like upticking suspend cards. It's like, actually, you can't.
And then comment
proliferate.
section.
The comment section says, "Hang on," and yeah, you can't proliferate suspend.
Actually,
You can't proliferate counters on permanents next card. Which once I read that, once I heard, like put it in writing, I was like, "Oh yeah, duh." Like obviously not. I just didn't want. What's it called? I didn't want the freaking bomb all the lands to resolve.
Was it like restore balance or whatever?
Restore balance.
Yeah,
Yes.
restore balance.
Restore balance. I just want restore balance to resolve.
She was
So
like, no.
I'm gonna cheeky cheat just so you don't get to resolve that card, Damien. Sorry.
Yeah.
Trent
I think,
cheats.
Yeah, classic. Sorry guys. I'm well renowned for it.
I think the interesting thing about Universes Beyond is the original premise of it. The idea of it is to bring people from outside of Magic into Magic. I think the Warhammer decks did that really well. They had some very simple mechanics. As crazy as Cascade is, it was pretty well muted for that deck and was easily explained. And then Lord of the Rings as well, I think, is a set that has been really great for getting new people in. Like, Lord of the Rings set this year knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is Wizards' best-selling Magic set of all time.
Well,
for good reason.
Let's take a step back and just So while on that point, I know we're talking about the stuff we're looking for in the future. We're kind of not for. I guess for our decks. That's good stuff in the future. But let's take a step back to the stuff we've enjoyed this year as well. I think Lord of the Rings. Let's talk about that now very quickly. That was great.
That was
You're absolutely right. That was great. It comes with the One Ring and Orcish Bowmasters, which we can talk back and forth on. We could probably make a whole podcast episode about their design space, but even including those things, it's just shaken up so many formats in such interesting ways, and all the cards are so easy people get into, and they're so on flavor, and they're so interesting.
Yeah. And they really brought people who had not played Magic before into Magic because the mechanics, while they do end up synergizing in complex ways, individually they're very straightforward mechanics. You know, did this happen to a non-token creature? Do this. Was your ring bearer not this guy? Cool, do this instead. You know, it's really simple stuff that I think was really good for bringing in new players into Magic. On the flip side, like you said, Doctor Who, really complex cards. And I'm seeing Fallout basically going to be that it's actually a Universes Beyond set for players that already exist in the hobby, not necessarily for bringing people in. Whether that continues into Assassin's Creed and Final Fantasy.
Well, Assassin's Creed and Final Fantasy are sets again, though, right? They're not decks?
They're sets, but they will have decks because every set has decks.
Yeah, of course. But that's not the point I'm making.
But the Assassin's Creed
is a full-on, like, draftable set. Or at least, like, a box
I don't know if it's draft. I got to double check.
It's a master's set.
Essentially.
It kind of is, yeah. It has Beyond boosters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I think are just going to be play boosters of Universes Beyond cards.
Yeah,
including a list of their own.
Who knows? But yeah, I mean, we'll wait to see. There's more info on that.
Of course,
year,
but the point being is that those aren't just structure decks. It's when it's just structure decks that starts to get me. Because even like the Jurassic Park cards, the unique ones from Ixalan, some of them can be complicated. Like I think like Ravenous Tyrannosaurus, with the way it devours and interacts with Devour, can be a little bit weird at times, and there's some interesting stuff there. Henry Wu, I think, is a pretty complex commander when you kind of break him down in his interactions. And this is also true about the Paleontologist's card as well. And however, you know, again, they're like fairly few of them, and they're not like super throughout the entire process of the deck. Like, again, you buy a Doctor Who deck, and every second card in it is just a marathon of text. Just like, And again, and you know what else I'll say? At least with Lord of the Rings, when something felt complicated to do, it was like you said, the synergies became complicated. It felt like you would put yourself in a position where things started getting complex. Like, Doctor Who cards are complex for like no reason at all. There's like, okay, let me tell you, people at home. So I'll explain one Doctor Who card to you, okay? It's a saga, which always starts really awesome. So it's an enchantment. And I might get one of these parts wrong. I'm going to try and do my best here, but it's a long fucking saga. It is a 3-parter saga, and it's called The Girl in the Wardrobe, I think it's called. It's from the episode The Girl in the Wardrobe, right? And okay. So the first step, so you play this enchantment down, it puts lore counters on it. This is for somebody who hasn't played the game before. Puts lore counters on it. The first one you put on or the lady in the wardrobe? Whatever. Anyway, the first one you put on creates a human with Vanishing 3 that says it cannot take damage. Right?
The girl in
the fireplace. Sorry, that's correct. My apologies. So the first one is it creates a 1/1 white human noble creature with Vanishing 3, which doesn't explain to you what that is. and prevent all damage to be dealt to this creature. The second step is create a 2/2 white horse that has doctors you control have horsemanship. And then the third step is whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player this turn, time travel. Now, yes, in the deck, there are lots of cards that explain what these things do. And
That card doesn't.
And this card does explain horsemanship to you because there aren't many other cards in the set that do. I don't think there's any other horsemanship in the set. So that explains that to you. It's the only card that does this, by the way. But you have to know what Vanity 3 does, and you have to know what time travel is. And look how much stuff is happening on this one card that you play on turn 3.
Yeah.
You could play this card on turn 3 or even on turn 2.
I think that's just symptomatic of commander design, bottom line.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Like,
crazy?
It needs to be more complex because if it wasn't complex, it would be a set, not a commander.
I'm going to come from a different angle. I think it's thematic design from Doctor Who because it's a lot of complex nonsense in the show.
Yes.
So it would make sense that they would want to port that into the card game as well.
And this is the thing. This is the thing as well. It is from the episode. You get to meet the girl. Doctor gets on his horse, and then he time travels on the back of a horse. I think in that episode, the horse gets in the TARDIS with him, doesn't it?
Yeah, and there's
if I recall correctly.
Like
Yeah, the Mars creatures. Yeah. So I think there is a point to be made, and maybe some conversation to be had about how commander design works. I do agree. There's some nature to how cards need to be complex, but I think Con is absolutely correct in the sense that this is like fluff and lore and making a card feel like it does from the show, all engaged on this one card. But it's so much on one card. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be this crazy. Like, even just David Tennant's Doctor is an easy to understand card compared to something like this. I'm like, damn. I don't know. To me, it's a lot. To me,
That
it's a
would
lot.
have been like...
I mean, the classic Doctors seem to have a bit of an easier run of like words. Like you just did like historic and convoke.
Yes.
You know, like
Yeah.
I've been brewing a 6 Doctor and Purple Gillian Brown deck, which is all just legendaries and convoking legendaries. And it's, I still need to actually get the cards, but it seems like it has a much easier run of it than the newer Doctors deck where they all have like very long, very wordy kind of patterns of play and all the different mechanics that are at play.
Yeah, and that's why I bring about the idea of maybe it's a symptomatic of mainly commander design, because when we talk about the Jurassic Park cards and how they're not very intuitive based on their design, and that's because they don't appear in the set.
Correct.
They don't
They're straight
appear,
to commander.
They go
for sure.
straight. They're straight to commander, and you can only get them in collector boosters, and set boosters.
And
I think
set boosters could
some
be wrong
set
on that
boosters,
one. Yeah.
but you're not playing with them.
Correct.
You're not in
the
a limited
standard
environment.
Or limited. Not a standard limited. Correct. So they are going to commander. And that's true. I see what you're saying in the sense it's like it's not a commander issue. It's the fact that these cards specifically are only going to commander. When you look at Lord of the Rings, it's going into modern. It's not like we're having these major issues because the format, especially with 4 of a kind and such, are like that. I think that you can have... I think in this situation, I feel like you can have your cake and eat it too. I feel like you can say that they could be complex because they're for commander, but also
they could have
this is too
done
much.
them as searchable spells, right? They could have had a sorcery that was create a 1/1 white human creature token with vanishing 3 and prevent all damage, and then at the end of that saying search a library for a card named this.
Yeah, I feel like there is maybe there's the whole conversation to be had, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like now we're in this situation where it's like creating problems to solve problems, which I can also see as a problem. But however, now here's my thing: is that you just reference one part of the girl in the fireplace. You just reference one thing. Make it like a 5-mana spell. It makes the human and the horse. Problem solved. That's it. That's all it does. It makes a girl and a horse, and then you're done. And it doesn't need time travel a billion times, or it's just, you're fine. Guess what? Your deck time traveled a million times. That's what the deck does already. You don't need a card that anyway.
Yeah.
I think that this card could just be like a 5-mana sorcery. You know what? It makes 3/3 worth of power. It could just been a 4-mana sorcery.
So then, if we bring that all the way back around to our original discussion, the concern is that Fallout may be more focused on people that are already enfranchised in the game and not about bringing people into the game. I think there will be people coming in because of Fallout.
I 100% agree, though.
And,
I think that's...
the same with Doctor Who, and I think there will be a small subset that kind of brute force their way into the game because of the love of the decks that will help them kind of massage their way through the more complex nature of the game because of the design.
I mean, I hope so, right? That's the thing for me. It's like, I think that these might be designed for enfranchised commander players, but they're definitely like incentivizing people who are into Fallout getting into it. And if you're into Fallout, that doesn't mean you're into Magic, right? But you might get into these decks because you're into Fallout. And I think I think, just random numbers. These don't mean anything. Let's say I think 90% of people who are buying these decks are already Magic players and they love Fallout.
Yeah.
Because you're a nerd. You love, who doesn't love Fallout and who doesn't love Magic? You know what I mean? So I think 90% of the players are going to be these players. But I do see like a cynical layer where maybe there isn't 90%. Maybe it's only like 70%. And then 30% of players come into the game and go, man, Magic kind of sucks.
It's so complex.
But I want to play this sealed format of X.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in and say, like, do you see this, like, the Universes Beyond is obviously trying to reach to popular IPs outside of Magic to bring people in. Do you think there's an environment where maybe they bring something back like a core set? And they bring back like that initial like bare bones learning Magic experience with a couple other cool little cards?
I think core sets are gone again now.
Yeah.
And I think the problem they had with the core set, they didn't have direction, obviously, until when they did their last core set, which was Origins. They called it their last core set before bringing back core sets for 2 more years.
Yeah.
And Origins was probably one of their best core sets because it had a story design to it as well.
Yeah.
Sure, but the last core set that they actually did was Adventures of the Forgotten Realms. Remember?
Oh yeah, true. It was.
That was their last core set,
which
and
is
that had a lot of the same
which
direction.
is a Universes Beyondy.
Yeah.
Sure, but but to be fair, that also had a lot of direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that
was 2 years ago.
Correct. I don't disagree saying it's pretty well done. I'm just saying that Adventures of the Forgotten Realms is the most recent. I don't think that was a very simple set though, right? It was fairly simple. I don't think it was the most simple set.
The venture into the dungeon mechanic was definitely like you had to have the one of the 3 cards in front of you that you had to pull.
And if you're playing Ace for back, you had to have the one that he didn't care about. Like, you know what I mean? So look, I also I agree. I think that I think there's gonna be a space for it. However, speaking of going to the future, looking at the up to 2026, we're looking at. I don't think we're gonna see that at all. I think it's dead in the water. Now, do I think that's possibly good for the game? Yeah, but here's the thing. I think that if Doctor Who, Warhammer, and Fallout are getting people into the game, none of those players want that. None of those players.
They don't want core sets.
They're not going to, because it's not that they don't want core sets. They don't want simple evergreen sets because their only experience with the game is complex, messy commander crap.
Yeah.
So nobody cares about that anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that the space for core sets is now Arena. I mean, that's a space where you see like the alchemy sets and such, where it's like kind of easy to understand mechanics that work on Arena.
Yeah. It's much easier on Arena when you don't have to keep track of all the individual triggers and everything. Like the game does it for you. So
Correct.
Yeah.
Another game going 2024, we were talking about this off camera right before we started, was War Machine.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Mark IV has been picking up steam. I was telling you about Apotheosis, which is the version of War Machine way back in the day that first ever introduced 50mm base models. So they talk about this being like a greater artistic direction for them. They can put more, obviously, on a 50mm base, make bigger models. They're going back to this now and either making new or remaking classic Apotheosis models. And we got our first announced very recently. And I think that's... I'm already forgetting her name. You might go like Mark IV Apotheosis. She might come up. I forget her name. It's a messy one. Something of Destruction, if I remember correctly. Anyway. And it's top one. I think it's Archives. Yeah, I think it's in the Archives. It's one of their like posts. That's like their Warhammer community version. Anyway, so War Machine, interesting stuff. So War Machine has kind of been popular on the always in respect to Games Workshop. It's always been like when Games Workshop is down, War Machine is up. When Games Workshop is up, which has been for a while now, unfortunately for them, War Machine is quite down. But these new sculpts look incredible. And it's a game Connor and I have been talking about getting into for a while, and this might be the push that goes to shove. Yeah. If you don't know, War Machine going to their new Mark IV has axed a huge amount of their factions and models. They've cut their game right down to basically nothing. So those who were, speaking of heavily enfranchised players, a lot of them feel betrayed by the system. A lot of them feel like, oh, I have so much invested in the game and so much of it is no longer playable. Might as well go back to Mark II and play a lot of Mark II. Which is unfortunate for the game's health. However, as somebody like myself and Connor who really touched it every so often, but didn't invest in War Machine super hardcore, and we have a couple of models here and there. I know you have a couple of models as well. This is a cool time to be getting into the game, I think, and to kind of find a faction that we go, oh, I very visually enjoy this. So that's another game I'm really looking forward to in 2024.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes. I remember with Warhammer 7th, like, becoming really problematic in back in the day, and Games Workshop as well not being a very nice company to its customers. A lot of us were looking to move elsewhere, and we started like playing around with Warhammer Hordes. I had trolls from Hordes, and I had some Troll Bloods and some Signa from War Machine. we're just kind of playing around with it. And then they released Mark III rules that changed up the game a fair bit. And kind of like, well, Games Workshop had just started announcing Warhammer 8th. They just started talking about all the big changes coming to Warhammer 8th.
Because 8th was like a total ground up
Total
redesign.
redesign, yeah. So rather than shifting to Mark III, we all just waited for Warhammer 8th.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the great Warhammer dilemma. And I landed on that earlier talking about how it is in respect to Games Workshop. Like as 8th started coming out, obviously Mark III started falling off. As 7th was like falling off, Mark II is picking up. So I think that unfortunately, as 10th edition Warhammer picks up great speed and picks up great steam, Mark IV War Machine has started to fall off already. And especially when you have those enfranchised players who are committed to the game, then just being blasted out the like next level. And Games Workshop does this in very, very heavy moderation. Like obviously in 10th edition, if you don't already know this, Tactical Marines are out. So there's no Tactical Marines. They're all gone. There's like some Devastator Marines. Very few other Tactical Marines are left. They are now all the Primaris Rangers. And there are Primaris sculpts that fill those voids. Jump Pack Marines are gone. Jump Pack Primaris are in. There are things like veterans, like Vanguard veterans. They still technically exist. So you can get away with those models if you have them. But, you know, if you had like Scout Marines with sniper rifles, gone. If you had Jump Pack Marines, gone, that kind of stuff. So you can play with your friends and be like, oh, they count as this model. Who cares? It's a game. Play it. Have fun. But competitively, of course, you'll need new models. Base sizes are different, that kind of stuff. So they'll do it in moderation. But this is like a huge swathing destruction of models. So
Imagine if like half of Warhammer 40k just went to Legends tomorrow.
Just went away.
Yeah.
I think that, like I mentioned earlier, if you're not into War Machine, this is a good time to get a look at it. I think the rule set is again, it's modern, it's fun, it's good.
They're doing a very big community feedback system for developing Mark IV as well. So
and just the model quality as well. Like I don't think they're going to have the same issues with availability because they've moved to a 3D printing model.
They've always had good models.
Yeah, but like the Signar Storm Legion stuff looks really good. And I was a Cardor player back in the day. I've still got those minis. And I'm Nostrovia. Yeah, I'm still, and I'm looking at going back because I'm like, oh, they got a couple of like really big mechs that I like. But then I've also, because I'm a big fan of Trollbloods as well, their new version is I think it's the Argos Sea Raiders. Yeah, you got a bunch of pirate like nautical themed trolls. I'm like, you know what? I kind of be interested to explore that. So if I do end up picking up like models for it, which I will at some point, because I want to give it a crack. And we were saying this beforehand. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. And I want to give it a chance before I write it off. Because for the most part, like since Mark II, I think for a majority of people, it's been such an unknown quantity. Not a lot of people lived through Mark III. And Mark IV is apparently gone for more of a casualization route in terms of the actual rule set, which interests me because it means if there's like 20 less things to keep track of, it's a more straightforward game. That's great. It sucks that a lot of people lost those miniatures. Like you have to think, imagine if like tomorrow 40k now it's, there's only going to be 4 factions. It's going to be Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, Eldar,
Tyranids.
And Orcs or Tyranids.
Orcs,
you know, and like those are your only factions. That's
it. Nothing else.
Nothing else. And we've completely changed the game system along with that. It can be quite jarring. But I also
sorry, go ahead.
No, but I also think that in terms of like rehabilitating the game's image, I think they needed to do something radical like that because to be fair,
they needed to Age of Sigmar it.
As we've said, the player base was already very low. It's very passionate. You know, it's
and with Mark III moving towards a more competitive rule set, we then get into the whole discussion about players moving into a competitive mindset and becoming less casualized, which we talked about in the last episode, where a competitive community basically weeds out the casuals itself.
It fractures by definition. Did they demolish Crix? Because Crix was the faction that, if the Crix is still around, I'll play War Machine. That's the deal.
Yeah.
Because Crix is the only faction I care about. So, you know what? I love Crix so much.
All right, let's go.
Bring up that Mark IV stuff. Another game. Here's a weird one. I haven't talked about this at all, actually. It's the first time you're even hearing about it. It's called Moonstone. Yeah, there's a game that's come out recently called Moonstone. It's just a skirmish game akin to like Malifaux. It actually won a bunch of awards. It won the UK Game Model and Game Rules Awards for 2023 for miniatures games. And I found it because I... just like Moonstone, just in general. Goblin King Games. I found it because they were selling a like River Troll character, and I was like, whoa, this River Troll will be really cool for a Fellwater Troggoth for Warcry. So I'm going to be picking up the model actually tomorrow evening. I'm putting an order in for the River Troll. But looking at the rule set, looking at the models, I just think it's a little cute little game, and there's some really interesting stuff in it.
It's a little bit like cozy fantasy.
It's very cozy fantasy. There's lots of...
I was looking at an Osprey game with a very similar kind of vibe. It's called Badgers and Burrows.
Yes.
I love that kind of like Beatrix Potter meets like Arthurian legend kind of.
Just cottage
cottage core gaming.
wargaming, right?
It's cool.
I'd love to give this a try.
Yeah, Moonstone looks really good. The rule set actually is what really got behind me. It's like very action economy focused. It's very like terrain focused. There's like, you put water down, you put like mud down, and that kind of affects your movement and what you can do. But yeah, as you can see, it's very cottage core gaming. It's very cute. I love the models. They're very high quality. And it won a bunch of awards. And I'm the kind of guy who's like, hey, look.
Sorry, was there a blimp frog there?
Yeah, there's a blimp frog.
Yeah.
It's
very, and it's so cool, isn't it? It's so cool.
I just picked the ones that the people want to see, which is goblins and trolls.
And that goblin on the left there next to the moon, the frog thing is actually like, he's got like eyes all over his face. He's like a bug. He's like all like warped and stuff. It is cute. They're gross. They're funny. And yeah, it's cool. There's like a pug knight as well. There's like, down the bottom there's actually a river troll. There he is on the right. Top right, there he is. So that model there I want to use as a Fellwater Troggoth for Age of Sigmar.
The gill thing. So that looks almost like a Fellwater Troggoth.
That's what I want it for, because the Fellwater Troggoth is still from Warhammer Warhammer Fantasy Battles. So I'll use that as my counts as. But anyway, that's cool. That's a cool game. Moonstone, that's recommend
really
it. Look it up at home.
Yeah,
Moonstone's cute. But yeah, a lot of M games. I'll be playing a lot of Moonstone and Malagast going into 2024 as well. So
yeah, I just saw that it was House Callus is on there.
Yes, House Callus is on there. Crix is not.
Ooh, I love them so much.
Is Mark IV? Are they shifting? Are they just dropping hordes entirely now as well?
It's all just one.
It's all just
system.
one game.
It's like it's one thing going forward.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm pretty sure that weren't the trolls or hordes?
Yep. So, and apparently they're like in this first iteration of the Mark IV rules, they still keep the old like health point checks thing. It's like with the jacks, it was whatever, like hit hull points, and then with the hordes,
it had the spiral.
It was the spiral with the, and I think they've kept that for the different armies and stuff, because there are some carryover models from the old range, but I think as they're going forward, they're gonna pare that down and just be like, all right, it's all the new models, it's all the new rules. But yeah, so it's just Orgoth Sea Raiders, which is one I want to give a go. Signar Storm Legion, which
no Crix makes me so
look at
sad.
that, like just Magipunk Paladin Source.
Buddy. Those models are so cool.
To be fair, you can still buy all the old models.
Yeah,
were they like the bug guys?
Yeah.
They're like bug guys. They're the green, like kind of bony, death-looking guys. They're like necromancers and such, and they're just rad.
They're under hordes.
No, what? No way. They're War Machine. Really?
Are you talking Crix?
Yeah, the Army of the Crix, right?
Oh yeah,
like
they're like
warjacks.
Necron-y kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe you're right though, because they're not even on the website, Connor. You're gonna trick me now.
It's fine.
Anyway, if you go like see?
Yeah, very Necron-y.
Yeah, and they have like, well, they're very necromancy like. They're just freaking sick. Like Crix are cool. Crix was the models that I always saw, and I was like, I want to play these guys. If I go on machine, I'm gonna play these guys. Yeah, look at these dudes, so cool. Yeah. They remind me of the game Medieval on PlayStation 1.
That's a throwback.
Yeah, look at these guys. Look at that.
As a stand-in for like a Morghast or something.
Dude, right? So cool. So yeah, maybe one day I do end up still getting some anyway, because they're just so cool. But that's in the Apotheosis range, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so yeah, they have like warjacks and everything. Anyway, so Moonstone, Malagast, War Machine. We're excited for Fallout. We're excited for Star Wars Unlimited.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you're excited about for 2024. Yeah. What are your gaming goals? Are there any board games you want to play as well? Hasn't been too many announcements from the board game side of things for next year yet. So,
Smiths of Winterforge 2.
Ooh,
that's a miniature game.
No.
Oh, the miniature skirmish game, Smiths of Winterforge.
Yeah.
Each box set has like one forge in the center.
Yeah. Molten metal sold separately.
Damn it, now you got me thinking about it.
Yes! I'm totally in on the playtest team.
All right, well, that's what we got. Yep. We're looking forward to 2024. We want to see what you're looking forward to as well in the comments below. And what 2023 stuff you played and what you enjoyed and came out of that as well.
What do you recommend to us? What do you think? What did we miss? What should we check out?
Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are watching on YouTube. If you are listening or watching on Spotify, follow the show as well. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us for 2023 From the Vault. It's been a great year.
It has. I hope to make it many years in the future. I hope to keep this podcast going.
Absolutely. I can't wait to talk more business and more fun shit with you guys.
Yeah.
So, and with you in the comments.
Yes.
So stay safe. Have a good holidays.
Yep.
Wash your goddamn hands.
Can I just cut in before the end?
Oh my God.
I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity of letting me become a part of the podcast and Hardcast this year. It's been it's really great, and I've been really appreciative of all the time you've spent like teaching me the things that I didn't quite know and letting me become a part of the crew. So I
Yeah,
just
well,
wanted
we
to
really
say
appreciate you, Connor.
Thank you.
Yeah, we want your voice to be heard. Really appreciate you being a part of this. So thank you so much again.
No worries.
Wouldn't be the same without you.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be possible
Who
without you,
knows?
to be
Maybe
honest.
we'll upgrade Connor next year to have a camera.
Ooh.
Don't get excited.
I said maybe. I didn't say
that's very dangerous
very
stuff, though.
neutral.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I get put on the little banner? I'll be behind a DM screen, so it's just like the top of my face, like Wilson from
Yeah,
Home Improvement.
Home Improvement, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you should do that. You don't have the correct stats for that.
All right,
Yeah.
well,
Wash your goddamn hands.
wash your goddamn hands, stay safe, have a happy holidays. I hope you get all the presents you want from all the games you want to play. I think that's it. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
And happy
Goodbye.
holidays and a happy
Goodbye.
new year.
Happy holidays. Monkey D. Luffy,
Merry-
King of the Pirates.
Merry New Year.
Merry Comness.